Round 6 of the year, and the American Le Mans Series makes its 5th ever visit to the Portland International Raceway in Oregon on the northwest coast of the USA. The Portland circuit is just under 2 miles long with 12 turns and has provided us with some spectacular incidents and races over the years. After the heat of Utah, it was expected to be cooler this weekend, but it was 108 degrees in qualifying, where Mike Rockenfeller set the 3rd fastest time in the GT2 class. With Klaus Graf absent this weekend, Robin Liddell has been drafted in to take his place. Jörg Bergmeister and Pat Long are the current GT2 class champions and have only won one race this year as they continue to chase to retain their title. Jörg was on qualifying duty and set the 2nd fastest time, but was nearly half a second slower than the pole time, although they tend to preserve their car and tyres for the race. After some near misses, the Risi Competizione team won the last round, and Jamie Mello and Mika Salo again looked strong here, dominating qualifying in their Ferrari 430.
We improved the car. I went from Salt Lake. The car is going very well. Also in this track, it's completely different track comparison with Utah. I'm very confident, so the warm-up was very good, so the car was well with the full tank. We are confident.
The two-make battle in the GT1 class continues again this weekend, with winners of the last 2 rounds, Aston Martin on the back foot this time. Both cars waited until the Corvettes had set their times and then did their best. Thomas Enger has injured his hand, so he's a little compromised this weekend, and Andrea Piccini is on standby. The Corvettes were using a bigger restrictor here, giving them back around 35 horsepower. The 3 Corvette, piloted by Johnny O'Connell, was half a second quicker than the 007 Aston Martin. But it was Olivier Beretta in the number 4 Corvette that went fastest in class. He, along with his teammate Oliver Gavin, are the current GT1 class champions.
This last 2 races has been hard for us because the rules has been quite hard. We have a lot of weight, we have a lot less power than the Aston, which is totally opposite way from what we have worked since January to develop the car. The car is very fast, so no one has achieved the result to have a competitive car, so they have to penalize us, which is not fair, because it's very difficult. The car has been not designed to have this weight, and we have to deal with, but it's very hard. But the car is still there.
Liz Halliday and Clint Field still lead this year the P2 class championship, despite the 2 Penske Porsches that are in a different league. But Intersport are continuing to plug away each weekend and are running better than they ever have. Again, lining up 1-2 on the P2 class grid are the Porsche RS Spiders. Both of the Penske-run cars were 2 seconds inside the current class qualifying record. Sasha Masson was 6th overall on the grid, whilst Romain Dumas went a bit quicker than his teammate and was fastest in the P2 class and went 4th on the grid overall.
I think this track, if you look, the qualify, it's really close, all the cars are really close. I mean, also the rule wants now to have a car in the front where before on the back, so it's really good for the race, and we will see tomorrow, but for sure it will be a tough race, and I think if we stay on the road, at the end we can have a good result, I think, overall.
5th behind Dumas and 4th in the P1 class was last round's winner Emmanuel Pirot, and the first of the 2 Audi diesel cars that will now compete for the rest of the year in the series. Rinaldo Capello was the faster of the 2 R10s, 3rd in both class and overall status, and put in 11 laps trying to improve his time, but was unable to. The Audis are slightly heavier than some of their opposition that they're up against, and that certainly contributed to added time.
If you consider the weight difference now, I would say it's more than acceptable, our gap between Lola and us. I try very hard But you know, that was our limit. I set the lap time in free practice yesterday, I set it today, and the qualifying as well. And I would say that it was difficult to improve even half 10 because it was really at the limit. And in the last lap, I decided to come in because I was taking too big risky, and I had some scary moment. And you know, it was almost impossible to improve. That's why, you know, we knew that probably even third position could have been not easy to reach it. We did it, and we are quite happy. And the race will be, I think, a bit different because in qualifying I could set my quickest lap for 3-4 laps in a row, and that's, you know, it makes me quite confident for the race.
Dyson have always run well at Portland, and shedding 40 kilos of weight in a performance adjustment contributed to their overall qualifying performance as well. Guy Smith went well in the 20 car, but top honours were reserved for Butch Leitinger, who went 0.13 of a second faster than the sister car and 0.32 faster than the Audi. An all Dyson front row, and the team were understandably delighted.
For whatever reason, the Dyson team always has this track, you know, they're very prepared for this track, and we're always fast here. As it happened, the last 2 years, the 20 car has beaten me to the pole over the past 2 years. So there was a little bit of, when I did my lap and then they told me that he had beat me for a pole by a 10th, there was a little bit of revenge I had to get out again. But, you know, but we were worried the Audis and Porsches were going to come back and beat our time. So felt like a little bit more in the car, so we gave it another go, and we were able to get it.
Cloud cover on race day had thankfully cooled conditions to the low 90s of the circuit, although they remained humid. But just before the start, the cloud cleared and the mercury in the thermometers began to rise again, although it didn't dampen any of the enthusiasm on the grid. Days before the race, Honda announced its plans through Acura to race in next year's American Le Mans P2 class. And it would involve 3 teams: Specialist Andretti Green and Fernandez Racing, as well as ALMS regulars Highcroft Racing.
We're thrilled with Acura's decision to include us in their 3-car effort for P2 next year, and we're ecstatic. I mean, it's a great opportunity for us, and we're looking forward to getting our hands on the car.
It's a major coup, though, really, isn't it? I mean, especially with the other teams they've announced as well. It's quite something.
Well, it's a real privilege to be included in the names of Andretti Green and Fernandez Racing. Obviously, those guys are icons in the sport, and we're tickled pink that Highcroft Racing is up there with them.
This is 2 gigantic drag races coupled with a few turns on each side. We didn't expect it, except that our car's handling very well on the infield sections, and the cars with a lot of power over us can't get off the corner quite as well. So it takes them a little while before they start to develop the momentum, and by the time they do that, we can outbrake them on the other side. So it makes it very even. You look here, the first whole bunch of cars are within a few tenths.
I got a call from Alex Job on Monday evening, and owing to a scheduling conflict for Klaus, he asked me if I could come this weekend. So yeah, I'm here, very happy to have been invited to drive with the team, and you know, as you know, it's an excellent team with a great record, and happy to sit with Mike. He's a really good driver, so hopefully we can have a good result today.
I think I can still help the team to be very fast even with one hand. I'm really lucky. I had an injury in just before the race. I broke the bone, which goes from the elbow, and on mountain bikes after Salt Lake City. And yeah, it's really unfortunate, but okay. I'm so lucky that if I really tape it properly, I can be able to drive. But there is a little problem if I start to have a problem with oversteer. If I start to lose the car, I need to catch the car only with right hand, because the left one is not as fast as the right one. But okay, I can still do it, and we'll see. I plan to start the race, and let's see how it goes, but for sure for next race I'll be 100% ready.
Thomas Enger not quite up to fitness, but determined not to let that stop him today. The air temperature has continued to rise as we get closer to the 6 p.m. start time and 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing here in Portland. And it's the two Dyson cars that will be leading away the field into the festival turns, where there is always an upset for a few cars, and everyone will be looking through to get through safely and pick up places if there is any chance of doing that. And again, it's going to be hustle and bustle all the way around the first couple of laps on this circuit. So around the final turn then, and we will see a green flag this time as Butch Leitzinger on the left-hand side of your screen on pole position gets ready to lead the charge, and they're away. The green flag is shown. 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing now. The Audis against the Porsche in the background, but now it gets interesting as they come into festival turns, and this really is tight. The chicane, which was altered year before last, and the Penske's have both gone wide. Both Penske's got caught up in that, and also something happened with the Corvettes too, and a change in order of the Corvettes, and it is Guy Smith that leads. Guy Smith in the 20 Dyson leads from his teammates. Butch Leitzinger in the 16 car, and then I think it was the number 1 Audi, followed by the number 2 of Dindo Capello. Have to wait and see, but certainly Guy Smith got through into the lead there, and it is the number 1 Audi, Emmanuel Pirro, that's in 3rd place. Then it's Audi again, and then it was Romain Dumas in the number 7 car. Sasha Masson is ahead of the Highcroft Lola. There we go, yeah, the number 9 Highcroft Lola. A lot of tyre smoke in the background there. Somebody else has got caught up. We're on board with Romain Dumas, who is now the P2 class leader as we come along the main start-finish straights. After the long circuit at Utah, it's back to the fairly short laps again. And Duncan Dayton looking very handy in the number 9 car. That is the old Dyson Lola from last year, the old 16 car. And those Dyson cars always went well. And is right behind Sasha Masson. So Sasha Masson second in class. Here's a replay of the start. And you see Guy Smith took the lead going into first turn. He had a twitch. And the two Porsches were quite wide. And I think that was Liz Halliday that got caught up in that. And you see the second of the yellow Corvettes has dropped right back into class 4th place. And now Romain Dumas touches with Dindo Capello. Dindo Capello lost out there. Looking to see, both cars seem fine. Here's a replay of that then on the left-hand side of your screen. This is a replay of the start, sorry, and you saw the Audi and also the Penske getting close before they even got into the corner, and then that put the Porsche right up on the curbs. And Sasha Masson jumped the curb there, actually, looking at that. He has got through there by going over the chicane, but I think he did drop back. And there is Olivier Beretta, the Monegasque driver, very experienced, who leads GT1 ahead of Thomas Enger, driving this weekend with quite a badly damaged arm, it has to be said. The pit lane for round 6 of the American Le Mans Series at Portland, Oregon. And, Ron Fellows, a spin at festival terms. Well, drama for Aston Martin, who got a minute penalty on the 009 car for an extra member working on the car during pit stop. And now Ron Fellows making a very un-Ron-like mistake and spinning. And the team talking to the number 3 car, letting them know where the traffic is. Corvette team very good at talking their drivers through the traffic, allowing them to concentrate and letting them know, where faster cars are. So Ron Fellows has spun and lost a little bit of ground there, and he will be angry with himself, to say the least, and very uncharacteristic. As we said, not very often you see a mistake from Ron Fellows, but he has stayed ahead of that 009 car, which lost virtually a lap in the pit lane. So Ron Fellows retained that position as the 009 car stays in the GT1 class 4th overall. Well, Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell have had a bit of a difficult year this year. They haven't been the most winningest car out of the two Corvettes. Both very experienced drivers and both very accomplished drivers as well. And here's a replay then, just a little bit too much speed, chasing the back of the 007 car. And just that's all it took. It is quite a slippy part of the circuit as well. As we see Romain Dumas and Duncan Dayton. Well, Duncan Dayton was actually waved past the number 6 car. Oh, and as they've touched, Romain Dumas and Duncan Dayton have touched in the festival curves. And both cars are going, but there's quite a bit of damage, I think, on the Porsche car. The Highcroft, that looks as if it's got a puncture. The Porsche seems to be underway pretty quickly without any problems. And that, what is that hanging out the side? That looked like the radiator from the left-hand side of that Porsche, which is pretty badly damaged. Bodywork rubbing, but tyre seems to be intact, whereas the Highcroft car has got a puncture without a doubt. And that is going to be pit stop for Romain Dumas. Fluid coming out of the back of that car. Has to be careful now that he doesn't blow the engine up. And that is tyre smoke from the Highcroft. That's not engine.
We've got a flat left rear at minimum.
So flat tyre rubbing on the bodywork.
Yeah, it's just a flat tire. The suspension should be okay. It's bodywork.
And that tyre breaking up very quickly. You have to be careful now that you don't destroy more of the car, and especially the suspension, with flapping tyres and a gaping great big hole inside that Penske. So Romain Dumas, and the incident with Duncan Dayton brings out the full course caution while they clean up the debris. And here you see Duncan Dayton goes for the move. He's got the inside line here, and Romain Dumas tries to hold the line. He wasn't really going to make it, and there was no room for him to go through up on the curb, and ended up in a collision with Duncan Dayton. And both cars have lost out because of that, and lost an awful lot of time as well. And just straight over the curbs and bashes straight into the Highcroft Lola. And the number 9 team will be very disappointed with that, but then so too will the Penske Team B. And here's a replay on board from Romain Dumas's car. Spins that car round. Engines are going back across the roads. And incredible how both cars kept going, really. And the Highcroft team being pushed back up the pit lane. And a few repairs to be made to that car, but the Porsche has a lot more damage. Well, it looks like Gunnar Jeanette's waiting to get in the 50 car, very anxious that they didn't take up his pit space. And the Porsche has gone into the pit garage so that they can work on that car better and quicker. Andy Wallace has got in the Highcroft car. They have got back out. And we'll catch up now behind the safety car as we get the green flag. And we are back under racing conditions at Porsche as they all squeeze in. There's a GT2 car very slowly there that suddenly caught up all the prototype cars who try to file through now. Quick burst of acceleration. Oh, and that's one of the Dysons locking up. That's Butch Leitzinger, who locked up on that turn, goes onto the grass. And no damage to the car, but a whole heap of time gone.
Which one, Butch?
Butch Leitzinger talking to the pit crew. There is damage to the back of that car, and possibly there's a puncture in there as well. Definitely, yeah, flat rear right, and there is damage to the car. And now he has to get that car back to the pit lane like we just saw with the Highcroft and also the Penske Porsche. And it's a compromise between getting there as quick as you can without losing time and getting there safely without destroying the car in the process. Here's a replay then from a different angle. Butch Leitzinger on the right-hand side and seemed to be squeezed out by the number 2 Audi, who was on a far tighter line, and Butch ended up on the grass, had nowhere to go, and there possibly was contact, and that rear tyre is now starting to fall apart. Butch Leitzinger will have to nurse that car home. Can't afford to damage any suspension components.
Really back there. I think I might have taken the oil line off or something.
And it's better to come in just a little bit slower and do less damage than it is to come in quicker and end up spending more time in the pit lane making repairs. And damage to the front louvres as well over the top of the wheels, where the marbles of rubber that have come off these tyres get picked up and flicked up through. And we've seen that quite often on the Dysons here, and also the old Audi R8s. And we saw it at Utah as well. And the Dyson team getting ready to receive the 16 car, who comes in agonizingly slowly. It seems like a long, long time when you're in the cockpit. And the tyre has stayed on pretty well. Damage to the rear bodywork. I need to check the suspension now, and that rim has seen its last race. Team go to work checking over. Tyre lodged inside the car, but I think they've got away without too much damage, but a lot of time lost. And out back onto the track is the number 7 Penske Porsche RS Spider, and Timo Bernhard has now taken over control of it from Romain Dumas. New radiator has been installed, new rear bodywork. They haven't changed the side pod. A lot of sticky tape has gone on to make that happen. 2 blue lights, or 1.5, you can see flickering, but that should be 3, because currently 3rd in the P2 class, which has promoted the Intersport team up to 2nd place. And it is Sascha Masson and Lucas Laws, number 6 Porsche RS Spider, that leads the P2 class now. As we look down at the number 2 Audi, Alan McNish and Dindo Capello looking for another class win and another overall win if they can do it this weekend as well. So they're running well, and those Audis seem to be keeping out of trouble. And there is Clint Field up, as we said, to 2nd place in the P2 class. Took over from Liz Halliday, who did the opening spot. Clint's father, John, did the qualifying yesterday, is here in the pit lane, but not expected to be racing today. He's leaving it a lot more to Clint and also to Liz. They're trying to get Liz as much time in the car as possible, and she is improving with every race, although quite disappointed with some of her driving at Utah. She is her own hardest and biggest critic, but has continued to impress and push back a lot of the fears of some of the gentleman drivers. And there is John Field inside the Intersport pit lane, watching events on and off the track as we go back to Clint. So 2nd place, lead the P2 points championship by 1 point in this round. And there is Pat Long, currently the GT2 class leader, along with Jörg Bergmeister. What a season they've had. 7th at Sebring, 4th at Houston, 7th in Mid-Ohio. They thought their luck had changed at Lime Rock when they managed to win. 2nd behind the Risi Ferrari at Salt Lake City. And currently leading class now, but knowing that the Ferrari was blindingly quick and is somewhere behind them, they have to push on this weekend. And the last year for this Porsche, brand new Porsche next year, the old 911 GT3 RSR as we know it this year, is going to be superseded next year, and expected to be putting the Porsches back on the pace again. They just have not got an answer to these blindingly quick 430 Berlinetta Ferraris. Also talking, and there is the 430 Ferrari flying over the bumps, and how that car still stays pretty stable, I don't know. Jamie Mello inside that car flying away. Ran a bit wide on the exit, but incredible. Oliver Gavin now installed behind the wheel of that number 4 Corvette. The team just telling him, keep it steady, keep it away from the curbs. And they are still leading the class. They have to bring this car home now. Were defeated 2 rounds in a row, and will do everything to make sure that it's not 3 in a row. This Corvette C6R, which has been so successful, has been so dominant in this class. And there you see the number 7 Penske Porsche which is out of sequence currently in this race at the moment, as Chris Dyson comes out to lap the number 7 Porsche, which is out of race order at the moment. And you have Chris Dyson currently in 3rd place in the P1 class, and Lucas Law, the leader of the P2 class, has just passed his teammate as well. And after that incident before, Timo Bernhard trying to catch up as much time as possible and currently holding 3rd in the P2 class championship race. And that taping to the side of the number 7 car starting to come adrift. And would like to know why they didn't actually replace that, because it must be hurting the aerodynamics on that car quite a bit. But obviously there must be some reason why they didn't. Through we go, the start-finish straight. There's the 23 car. And the Flying Lizard car being caught by the Highcroft prototype. And there is the 007 Aston Martin 2nd in class, Thomas Enger, inside that car, handing over to Darren Turner. Darren Turner doing his best to try and catch up and take the fight to the number 4 Corvette. As we look at the number 22 PTG M3 BMW, a very old car that they have got going very well. And we know, or we believe there is a new car coming. We don't know what it is and we don't know when, but the team's still pushing on the best they can at the moment. Frank Bieler has just made his last visit to the Portland pit lane of the American Le Mans Series, and now has to get everything back up to temperature again, the tyres, and get himself settled back into his race pace, which shouldn't be a problem. And there is Lucas Law inside the number 6 Penske Porsche RS Spider, which have been running so well this year, and that car currently leading the P2 class. The second of the Penske cars, the number 7, you can see is quite some laps behind, and currently in 3rd place overall after problems before. And the Ferrari has continued to push on and is now 2nd in the GT2 class, and can see the Peterson White Lightning Porsche as Butch Leitzinger, after a very long stint, swaps over with James Weaver, and Butch will help James to get installed into the seatbelt system in that car. You can't put them on yourself, you need somebody to help you and to pull them uncomfortably tight. But that's what you need to keep you firmly inside that car as the team go about their business. New Michelin tyres going on the Dyson Lola, the BO610 Lola chassis, new this year. And only the 6th race they've done. A lot of work has been taking place on these cars, and without any fuss or drama, James Weaver is back out onto the track, and there is his teammate, currently 3rd overall in the P1 class and currently 4th overall in the race behind Lucas Law. Lucas Law pushing on. Porsche factory test driver, worked very hard in between races, developing and testing not just this car but future cars, and also the 911 cars as we know them. So those two racing for position overall, but in different classes. Chris Dyson, so much time and effort into this, what is referred to as a privateer team, but an independent team, probably better to call them. But such a lot of effort that they put in, and they come back year after year, have the real spirit of racing behind them and try their hardest. And this year they really have brought the fight a new challenge, and unfortunately for them so too Audi and also Penske. It's all changed for them this year. Corvette of Johnny O'Connell just caught up in that. Johnny O'Connell driving the 2nd stint today and currently 2nd in class. And there is Woody from the Aston Martin team talking to Dick Martin who is the IMSA official that's in charge of the pit lane. So Aston Martin concerned about something, as into the pit lane comes the Porsche, fuel going in, rest of the crew poised and ready to change tyres, and change in the GT2 class, because the 23 car has got past the Ferrari of Mika Salo, and Mika Salo about to get past again. So Mike Rockenfeller driving that car that has a considerable amount of front-end damage to it after an incident involving Robin Liddell earlier on and one of the PTG BMWs. But the Ferrari lost some grounds from the pit stop. Yes, that's what's changed the order, and now has just got past and just in a different league. So the 23 car now third in the GT2 class. In the pit lane we have changeover for Corvette, and that is Ron Fellows who's getting back into the number 3 car, and the 009 car completes another lap. The Corvette fires up now, lights on and flashing while the pit lane speed limiter is activated on that car. Deactivates it now, front illuminated with the setting sun, and Ron Fellows will be driving the remainder of this race today. So he gets back in, currently third in class overall. We're not sure what the Aston Martins have to do. And Johnny O'Connell, that is just pure sweat coming off him as he talks to Ron Fellows' wife Linda, and change in the number 4 car as well. And Olivier Beretta is going to do his second stint of the day. They've got enough time to change the drivers. Aston Martin looking on, and these teams do watch each other like a hawk, looking for any particular infringements to rules which they can pick up on. It's all part of the sport. And the Corvette finished and out, and still retains the lead of the GT1 class. Takes off the pit lane speed limiter now, comes out, and do we see an Aston Martin? Yes, we do. And Aston Martin approaching 007, Darren Turner, and it shows you how tight these pit stops are. Something hanging from the front of that Aston Martin as well. As into the pit lane comes Lucas Law, and smoke from the car, not looking very good, and that's not tyre smoke either. And it looks as if there is an engine problem for this RS Spider. And yet again, the Porsche team having problems. The team come out, the rear bodywork is going to come off, but this does look very much as if it's going to be a retirement for the team. Lucas Law remains in the car. The team inspecting now. They can tell a lot from the data and telemetry that they have, and no real urgency. And in fact, Lucas Law is getting out of the car, and it's a retirement for Porsche, and it looks as if they will have only 1 car finishing this race. And disappointment for Penske Porsche, for Sasha Masson and Lucas Law, who are on their way to a class win. Now this means that Liz Halliday, who is back in the car again, currently second in the P2 class, is 5 laps down on the number 6 Porsche that has just retired. There is enough time for her to make that up, so he's well within a chance of winning this race. Big change in events for the Intersport team as Chris Dyson comes in, and disappointment, he's got a right rear puncture. So the team just changing that tyre, so he loses a lot more time. And this is indicative of the problems that the Dyson team suffer from. Luck goes against them sometimes, so out they go into the pit lane, and Liz Halliday pushing on and has taken the lead of P2. Duncan Dayton and Andy Wallace have had a great day here. They've been pushing hard, and 6th overall. They will be delighted with that, and the chance of moving up a position as well today is still possible. And there is Brian Willman, the Autocon Lola that was the number 20 Dyson last year, that set the pole time here at this race last year and is currently 8th overall. Brian Willman driving with Chris McMurray this weekend, and a great effort they've put in today. Taken that car over and had to do so much work with their team to understand it and run it. And there is Alan McNish into the final turn for the final time, and it's checkered flag for Alan McNish yet again in the American Le Mans Series as he comes across and takes the flag, then bounces over to the Audi pit wall, and the other prototypes coming towards the checkered flag in the distance, but the number 2 Audi has done it again, and Alan McNish will be celebrating. 5 class wins and 4 overall from 6 races for Alan McNish and Ronaldo Capello, whilst it's the 3rd win of the year in the P2 class for Clint Field and for Liz Halliday. After 2 rounds without the Corvettes, get a win in GT1 with the 4-car triumphant, whilst it's the 2nd win in a row for the Risi Ferrari, who took over the lead in the late stages. But celebrations for the overall win and the class win for Alan McNish and Dindo Capello, who have done it yet again.
Fortunately, Dindo got a hit at the first corner, which has affected the car, no question, at the beginning in the hot temperatures. As it cooled off, the tyres stayed better for me and I was able to push. You know, that's our 4th victory out of 6 races. We should have won in Salt Lake, and we didn't quite make it there, but we made it here.
It was kind of quietly all weekend, and then it just paid off.
Well, I do think that the dice has had some incidents, and that played into our hands, also Porsche as well. But we were there to pick up the pieces. The R10 TDI was pitchy.
More points in the bag for Alan McNish and Dindo Capello, who firmly control the P1 championship. Liz Halliday and Clint Field extend their P2 class championship lead to 5 points. A 12-point lead for Olivier Beretta and Oliver Gavin in GT1, whilst in GT2, Johannes van Overbeek picks up another 10 points for a 4th place to stay ahead. It's been a busy time for the series, but there is a little rest now before it's round 7 at the Road America circuit in Wisconsin, when we will see battle commence once again.